Sparta builds a military state. Located in the southern part of Greece, known as the Peloponnesus, Sparta was nearly cut off from the rest of Greece by the Gulf of Corinth. In outlook and values, Sparta contrasted really sharply with the other city-states, Athens in particular. Instead of a democracy, Sparta built a complete military state. Around 725 BC, Sparta conquered the neighboring region of Messenia and took over the land. The Messenians became helots, peasants that were forced to stay on the land that they worked. Each year, the Spartans demanded half of the helots' crops. In about 650 BC, the Messenians were really growing resentful of Spartans' really harsh rule, and they revolted. The Spartans, who were outnumbered 8-1, just barely put down the revolt. Truly shocked at their own vulnerability, they dedicated themselves to making Sparta a super strong military state. Little side note, the ancient Greeks believed that really strong, healthy citizens helped strengthen the city-state, and they often included sporting events and festivals that they held to honor their gods. The most famous, of course, was the Olympic Games, which was held every 4 years. Records of Olympic winners started in 776 BC. At first, the festival only lasted about a day and had only one contest, a race called the Stade, S-T-A-D-E. Later on, though, many events were added, including long-distance races, wrestling, long jump, javelin, discus throw. The Olympics was expanded to 5 days by 472 BC. So back to the helots. The really harsh rule led to the Messenians revolting, and this encouraged the Spartans to become extremely militaristic. The Spartans' government and society. Spartan government had several branches: an assembly, which was composed of all Spartan citizens, elected officials, and they voted on all major issues. The Council of Elders, which was made up of 30 older citizens, proposed laws on which the assembly voted. Five elected officials carried out the laws that were passed by that assembly. These men also controlled education and prosecuted court cases. In addition, 2 kings ruled over Spartans' military forces. The Spartan social order consisted of several special groups. The first were citizens descended from the original inhabitants of the region. This group included ruling families who owned land. A second group included non-citizens who were free and worked in trade and industries. And then there were the helots, of course, at the bottom of Spartan society. They were little better than just slaves. They worked in the field or sometimes as house servants. Part of the reason that Sparta developed differently than some of the other Greek city-states had to do with its isolation. It stood alone on the peninsula, or relatively alone. And whereas many of the city-states were near the coastline and made use of navies, Spartans had a strong army, which is land-based, of course. Spartan daily life. From about 600 to 371 BC, Sparta had the most powerful army in all of Greece. However, the Spartan people paid a really high price for their military supremacy. All forms of individual expression were completely discouraged. As a result, Spartans didn't value art and literature and other artistic and intellectual pursuits. The Spartans valued duty and strength and discipline over freedom. They valued discipline over freedom, individuality, beauty, and even learning. Since men were expected to serve in the army until the age of 60 years old, their daily life was completely centered around military training. Boys left home when they were about 7, and they moved into what amounts to kind of early army barracks, where they stayed until they reached the age of 30. They spent their days marching and exercising and fighting, and they undertook these activities in all kinds of weather, wearing only light tunics and no shoes. At night they slept without blankets on hard benches. Their diet consisted of little more than a bowl of coarse black porridge, and those who were not satisfied were encouraged to steal food. Such training produced tough, really resourceful soldiers. Spartan girls were also pretty hardy. They received some military training, and they ran, and they wrestled, and they played sports. Like boys, girls were taught to put service to Sparta above everything, even love of family. A legend says that Spartan women told their husbands and sons going to war to come back with your shield or on it. As adults, Spartan women had considerable freedom, especially in running the family estates where their husbands were on active military service. Such freedom surprised men from other Greek city-states, and this was particularly true of Athens, where women were expected to remain out of sight and just quietly raise their children. So the bottom line was, in Sparta, it was service to Sparta above anything else.
And of course, Spartans. Choose your next word. They may be your last. For a matter. Yeah, and water. So you'll find plenty of both down there. No man. Persian or Greek, no man threatens a messenger. You claim you find us and handsome complicates to my city's depths. Insult my queen. You threaten my people with slavery and death. Oh, I've chosen my words carefully, Persian. Perhaps you should have done the same. This is blasphemy. This is madness. This